Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Serena and we're going to have a very informal intro because we have a very long tutorial to look forward to. So the things you're going to need for this is a half wig of your choice, one that matches your desired hair texture, and I prefer the wig to be cut to the length similar to what you're going for. So I'm going for a really short hairstyle, so I wanted to go with a bob to avoid having to do any extra cutting, a brush, a rat tail comb, which I cannot find, a very, very strong hold hairspray, because we are going for a hair styled, like a pre-styled wig that they would have sold in the 50s. So this is a wig that you will not or should not have to style again. And some rollers of your choice. I went with foam rollers. You will also need some sort of styrofoam head. Now you can do this on your hair, your own head. You can put the wig and style it on your own head if you were capable of doing such a thing. But that seems to me like it'd be more of a temporary style. But for this, you're gonna need to steam it with really hot water, like a steamer. So wig head, some sort of way to hold it up. I have a clamp right here, and some like T-pins to pin the wig onto the head, and that should be about it. Anything else you'll see in the video. You're also going to need a bunch of these like alligator or claw, I don't know what they're called, but these kind of hair clips, and lots of bobby pins. The not normal, but like the straight pins like these, and then the ordinary like flat clamped ones. You're going to need those as well. So I want to start by modeling the wig for you straight out of the package with a tiny bit of leave out. My hair is not straight by any means. It was blown out, and then it's been very, very humid outside, so it's extremely puffy and not blending very well, but that's besides the point. I just wanted to let you see what it looked like out of the pack. Now I'm going to put it on the dress form. You're going to need a brush and a comb. You're going to need some rollers. These are Velcro rollers. I didn't end up using them because I didn't really like how they sat in the hair. So I used my trusty foam rollers. And you're going to want to just brush out the hair, get all the tangles and stuff out. We're actually painting our front door, so that's why I'm wearing like non-vintage loungewear, because I needed to be able to stay kind of, I don't know, not mess up my clothes. But so now I am marking where I want my curls to stop. This is really important because you don't want to go all the way up to the top with the foam rollers with such a short hairstyle, because then it'll be like very poodly and it'll be really hard to tame after the fact, because this isn't human hair, this is a synthetic hair. So we're going for a permanent style with this, something that I can pop on and pop off and just keep reusing it without having to restyle. So you want to make sure that you stop it where you can, because I'm going to steam these curls into place and then hairspray it into place, and it'll be really hard to relax it after. So here I'm doing sections. You want to do thin sections. Usually I just do 2 sections, the bottom and the top, but this wig is a lot thicker than I usually would prefer it to be, so I'm gonna have to do 3 rows of hair. Here I am taking the foam rollers to give it a try, but eventually I just put those down and go with my foam rollers. So my foam rollers are different colors equals different sizes. The yellow ones are the second to smallest. The blue ones are actually the smallest. I like to go ahead and do the smallest at the bottom and then the largest more towards the top. I use the bottom row for volume, so those curls are not really important to me. They kind of just give the top curls something to really rest on. So that's the row that I usually tease a lot. So the smaller you get those curls, the better. Try and use as many small ones as possible, but you do want to keep your sections about 1 inch wide, and you want to keep them thin, because the thinner you get them, the tighter the curls will be, the longer they will last. So if you do them in really thick sections, the curls might end up very wonky and they might not hold. So there's that. I leave the front hairline pieces the parts of the hair that's going to frame my face for last. And so if you notice that I am curling under and going straight back, well, for the front pieces, I'm going to curl them to the side and under. So instead of going back towards the nape of the wig, I'm just going to curl them to the side, and you will see me do that. That way I can blend the front of the hair with my natural hair. I actually use the largest rollers for this because I don't make the front of my hair that tight. Plus, I want to be able to pull it down and manipulate it a little bit more. So I roll them tightly, but on the largest roller. If you plan on leaving more than about an inch of hair out in the front, then you can roll your entire wig to the back and use all of your hair out in the front. I like to keep this as a protective style, so the least amount of hair that of my own that I leave out, the better. So that's why I curl the front of the wig like it's my bangs, but you don't have to do that. You can do it all straight back and use your natural hair for the front. So while I finish curling, I kind of want to talk about some of the inspiration and how I found the hairstyles that I was going for. So the more I get into vintage dressing, I want my hairstyles to look a bit more natural and normal for the everyday housewife, as opposed to like the very glamorous movie star special occasion hairstyle. So I try to look up normal black people from the 1950s and the 1960s, like ordinary everyday people, as opposed to like movie stars, and model my hair after that. Then to decide what type of hairstyle I want to go with, I kind of envision what my hair would look like if I rolled it myself, and I just compare that to how my hair has looked in the past when I use rollers or flexi rods, and then gauge it that way. And I know that for my hair, when I use flexi rods or foam rollers, especially if I'm doing a wet set on natural hair, they get extremely tight. So that's the look I was going for. And then I chose my wig based on the texture. This wig has a lot of texture. It's not bone straight, and it looks like natural blow dried hair. So I thought it would work perfectly for me. And you should gauge the way that you curl your hair and the texture of your hair based on how your hair naturally curls if you want to go for an authentic look, but none of that actually matters if that's not what you want. So now I am steaming the wig. I'm using a little handheld steamer, and first I go around and make sure that all of the hair gets wet. Then after that, I throw a regular grocery bag over the top to trap in the heat, lock that heat in there, and then I leave the bag on there until the wig has completely cooled. Once it's no longer hot to the touch, I take the bag off, and at this point, if it wasn't for video, I will let it sit overnight and take the hair down in the morning. But for the video, for the very first time, I tried using a blow dryer, and I put it under my Kenmore overhead hair dryer, or you could use a handheld dryer, but I think I prefer leaving it overnight to air dry naturally. But that's what I do to lock in the curls. I don't use any product at this point. One of the perks of doing your hair on a wig as opposed to your actual hair is that when all of the boring stuff is taking place, like blow drying and stuff like that, you're not stuck to drying your hair. You can go play with your kids, clean the house, do other things while your hair is actually being done. And so that's what I did when I waited for this hair to dry. And so now I'm taking down the rollers, and I am unrolling it kind of like in a spiral way, so that way not to disrupt the curls until I'm ready. I hope that makes sense, but you can see how I don't just pull the curls out haphazardly. They kind of stay curled when I take it down. So now
this is the hairspray of choice.
I'm showing you the
And of course,
hairspray that I use for this. I spray the hair before I do any styling because I want these curls to be really nice and crispy and set, if that makes sense. So I go around spraying the entire thing at this point. And then I try it on my head, and I do this off screen because I want to see how high the curls
I've had this
actually are.
hairspray for like
And
4 or
they
5
are
years now.
extremely
Just to
high
give you an idea of how much
on my head. So like
hairspray I
they go
use.
up a lot
After
further
this,
on
I
my head
probably
than
won't
it
use
looks
it
like
again.
on the dress form or the form.
Okay, so
So
next you
now
want to
I am removing the combs out
remove
of the wig.
these
I do not
combs.
like
I leave the
the
back on because
combs
I
that
tuck
are
that
at the top
into a
of the
braid
head and
or
the
if you
side of
make
the
a
head.
stocking cap.
They pull on your hair,
But
so if
this
you
right
wear these a
here,
lot, then it can cause
I feel
damage
like after a
and
while
it can
can
be
mess with your
uncomfortable.
natural hair.
So I like to remove these and
If you
use them
like
for
it,
other
fine. I
things.
don't like the
So like if
tugging.
I make a hat that needs a hair comb, I
So
reuse the wig
I
combs for that.
pick this
And
out.
I leave the one at the nape of the wig because I either tuck that into the stocking cap or I tuck it into my braid, but I never have it into my nape touching my scalp, because over time that all that friction and pulling can damage your hair, and that
then I
defeats the
save
purpose. We want
these
to look cute and
for
protect our
like
hair at the same
hair
time too.
clips.
If you incur more damage
and
wearing
other
the wig than
things.
actually wearing your hair out,
So,
then what's
you don't
even
have
the
to dump
point?
these. You just
So
don't need
I
them
remove
for this wig.
the combs with a seam ripper and
yeah.
save them for later.
Take out the
Okay, so now it is time to start styling the wig. And what I'm going to do is gently rake my fingers through the hair and pull a little bit. I do this about 2 to 3 times a clump and not too much more after that, because I want the curls to kind of stay clumped together. I don't want to do a brush out. I'm not going for a 1940s brush out or brush out at all. I just want to loosely separate the curls but stay in individual clumps. In some of the photos that I was looking at, some people did not manipulate their curls at all. And I assume that those are the people whose natural hair is curled, because when I curl my natural hair, any disruption of the curls ends up being a frizz or puff, and I lose all dimension. So I assume those people are using their natural hair when they do that. Also, when you leave your hair in its original curled clumps, then it's easy to pop the rollers back in at night and then go to sleep with them and then take them down and your hair is exactly the same. So you could figuratively stop at this point and wear your hair like that, because I've seen photos of women's hair just like that. But I wanted to disrupt the curls just a tiny bit, not enough to look like I brushed it into a style, but enough to give me a little bit more fluff and volume in the back. So this is all I do. I don't go in with a comb. I don't go in with a brush. I literally do exactly what you're seeing on the screen. And then I put my clip down to make sure that base is nice and flat. You really want that flat base so that way if you want to wear a hat, you can. And your hair doesn't get in the way of it and it will still sit nice and flat against your head. But also if you look at old photos, it seems like everyone at that time had really flat bases and they just styled their hair around the perimeter. So their bangs and the back and the top was always flat. So that's the look I'm going for. So we use these little alligator or claw clips to do that and hold the hair in place, and then you spray it. And you keep doing that until you get the shape that you want. I will do majority of the styling on the form and then save the front for on my head. It's the best way I know how, being able to see the entire head and work on it that way than to style all of my hair on top of my head. My arms get tired and then I can't see the back. Now I am teasing the very last row. I am teasing lightly and then tucking it under to give more fluff and volume. This is when I noticed that the hair did not curl as tightly or as well as when I let it dry overnight. So again, for the video purposes, I used a heat dry, but in general, I would just leave it to dry naturally, air dry overnight, and you will get a better curl. But either which way, I am fluffing this. I'm teasing and fluffing under, and just the last row. Do not do any row above that because you do not want the frizz. This is actually a lot shorter on my head than it looks on the form. So if you go up with teasing anymore, then people will see that bird's nest of teasing when it's on your head. So Just work on that very fine last row only. Once again, you're going to hairspray, you're going to pat in hairspray, manipulate in hairspray, and make sure everything is exactly the way that you want it. You don't necessarily need perfection here because natural hair would get a little bit frizzy from taking your hair out of rollers and things like that. So you're not going for like perfection. You're going, well, in my case, I'm going for a more natural look. And again, I'm basing everything that I do off of how my hair responds when I do rollers and stuff. So I get frizz, so I want to leave frizz in the hair. I would, if you don't get a certain amount of frizz, if your hair doesn't get a certain kind of way, then you can do what you know works for your head. But I'm kind of trying to model this after my head. So that's why I'm leaving a little bit of frizz and not going for perfection. Now I'm showing you where my hair and the wig hair begins and ends. I don't have a tall enough tripod, so I'm kind of trying to squat so that way you can see what I'm doing. I will turn around so that way you can see the back. And initially I was speaking through this, but then I realized that music was playing in the background, so I have to voice over this section. So yeah, it's time to blend my hair. I curled it, but it is fallen longer than the wig hair. So what I'm going to do is pin curl my hair underneath the wig hair and blend it. I'm more concerned about having a more natural hairline than anything. And by natural, I mean my hairline showing. So that is a concern for me. So I'm not combing through the hair. I'm just smoothing it with the comb, and then I'm adding a alligator clip. So now it's time to address the fact that my hair is a little bit longer than the wig hair, and that's just because it's not curled tight enough. So what I'm going to do is pin curl my hair and tuck it under the wig hair. Like I said, I am just trying to have a more SewRena like hairline, so I just care about having a visible part of my own natural part instead of having a wig part, and then pulling the hair over the front. In the future, I can actually leave out less hair. I just wanted to be prepared just in case I needed to show more of my own hair, but that wasn't necessary. So I am just going to pull and tuck and curl and tuck and kind of just like play around with the hairline. There is no rhyme or reason to this. I am not following any special techniques. I'm just doing what I think will work for my hairstyle. But I definitely left out more hair than was necessary. And so I'm going to address that in the future. But for me, it was better safe than sorry since I did braid the back of my hair back. It's easier to tuck in hair than to have to unbraid your hair and then leave more out. So that is what I'm doing here. At this point, I'm also securing my wig with straight bobby pins. So I am anchoring my wig into my braids with bobby pins. You don't necessarily have to, but I find it safe to go ahead and anchor with these bobby pins because you did remove the combs. If you did not remove the combs, then this is not a concern for you. This wig is also adjustable, so if you pull the drawstrings, you'll get a pretty snug fit too, but you can never be too careful. So this is the final product. Let me turn around. And yeah, this is, I would say it was a pass, and I think I'm going to put for sure somewhere like over here on the screen how much this wig cost, but I think it's like $15. So $15 or $20, and this is what you get. I feel like you get a pretty authentic-ish hairstyle, especially for someone like me who's not a hairstylist and doesn't like to do hair. I feel like for me personally, this is a huge win, but maybe not so much for someone whose thing is hair. It's not a thing for me, so this is pretty damn good for me. I get to have my hairline, which is what is really important to me, because you have less to blend when you have your own hairline as opposed to with a lace front wig. If you're again someone who's not into hair like me, then you kind of have to do all this blending and cutting and dyeing the lace and doing all those things, and you get to avoid that if you just leave out the perimeter of your hair. And by perimeter, I just mean like this much. You could pull more of the wig hair forward and then leave out even less hair, like leave out like this much if you pull more forward, but I didn't think it was necessary because I had already went through the work of straightening and curling all of this, so I left it out. But also you can put a hair flower to cover the side and leave out no hair at all. You can tuck all of this in, pull a teeny bit forward, and then put a hair flower right here, and then just leave out this tiny strip right there. So so much to say that, like, this is it, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. I know there isn't a whole lot of resources for Black women's vintage hair that don't require a whole lot of like damaged or treated hair, but there is an option. If you like it, feel free to use it. This is really cheap hair. I'll leave the name of the brand and the hair that I used. I ordered it online, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find this in a beauty supply store. I don't really go to beauty supply stores anymore. I would rather just order my hair online. And when I do order it, I order quite a few. Well, recently I ordered quite a few wigs because I wanted to trial different hairstyles. I recommend getting a bob, because if you don't really know what you're doing, then you don't have to cut the hair any further. I knew that for this really short hairstyle, I wanted it short enough that my earlobes show, so that way when I wear my earrings, you can see them and it's not tucked behind hair. And so I knew that getting a bob, which probably was right here when it was straight, I knew it would curl well up to my ears, and that's the hairstyle I wanted. So keep that in mind. Get a wig that is going to shrink to the amount that you want it after you curl it, so that way you can avoid having to cut hair. I didn't have to cut any hair. The last wig that I made, I didn't have to cut any hair. I only had to cut hair on one, and that's the half wig that I used for like that 1960s flip. I did have to cut that because it was extremely long, but I haven't technically styled it yet. I just kind of like brushed it into a flip, but it could definitely use some rollers to it and some hairspray to like really get that nice perfect bump that stays bumped, but I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. So yeah, another spin around. And I'm so happy with it, and I hope you guys are too. Again, I don't put a whole lot of hairspray at the front because I like to keep it have a little bit of movement so I can tuck my hair in and out of it, but like the back is almost like pretty stiff. Hair has a little bit of movement, but like on top it's really stiff. When I take this off, I'm going to spray it some more underneath because I feel like it's just too soft. And then when I store my hair, I'm going to store it on a head. I did buy a bunch of foam heads, and then I'm going to use when you buy your wig, it comes with like a hairnet over the top. I'm going to put the hairnet back over it so that way the curls don't fall when I'm not wearing my hair. The hairspray should help with that, but like we want this to last as long as possible. We do not want to have to restyle this. The only thing you should have to restyle when you do this hair is your own hair that you leave out. So I hope it's not too chatty. I hope this isn't direct enough, and I hope it's very, very helpful. If you enjoy this video and you want more like it, please subscribe to my channel, as well as follow me on Instagram at SewRena_. And if you want to support me further monetarily, you can leave me an online tip at Ko-fi, and I'll leave the link for my Ko-fi below. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.